If I don't wake up um, black, then I do wake up with pain for those who can't physically feel it. So that kind of just doing that comparison for about a few sentences.
Did you write it?
I did.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I think we had one more student who wrote a poem and shared it yesterday. So it was really very nice, very reflective. Okay, I guess we will go ahead and start. So, as you know, this is open space discussion. What I did was I have like three poll questions for us just to guide our conversation, and we'll see who is in the room. So I'll start with my first poll question. So here we go. So we'd just like to know who is in the room, who is attending this session. Are you a student, community partner, administrator, faculty, or you have some other role? Okay.
It's Amy Michael from Rutgers University staff. I'm here.
Claudio, me also, staff.
Hi, Amy and Claudio. Good, I'm glad you're here. Are you able to see my poll?
No.
No, oh, okay.
I saw the first one, like staff, and I just answer it.
Oh, okay, okay, great, great.
Thanks.
So I'm going to just share it with everyone on the screen so you know who we have. So we have about equal representation of students and administrators. So I think that's going to be very useful because we will have students' perspectives in this discussion. So I'm excited about that. And we do have one community partner, one faculty member, and someone else who has another role. Great, thank you. And I have one more poll question for us. I don't want to relaunch poll one. I want to find another poll. I don't know where it is. Give me one moment. Here we go. I figured it out. Thank you for your patience. So yesterday, actually, we had another discussion, which was also like open-ended or open space discussion. And we discussed some challenges that currently we are facing because of COVID-19, that we can't go on service sites personally. And these are the challenges that were shared. I would like you to share your responses, like what are some major challenges for you? And you could choose more than one answer. I see responses are still coming in, so I'm going to wait a little more. Okay, about 81% of you responded, so I'm going to end this poll and share the results with you. So right now, the highest priority, the major challenge that we are facing, it looks like it's limited virtual projects from community organizations. So how do we navigate that? And then followed by that, we have pretty much equal percentages in terms of declining student volunteers, limited access to Wi-Fi, and financial barriers, institutional financial barriers, and some other reasons as well. If you don't mind, could you put in the chat What are some other barriers which may not be listed in this question? I would appreciate that. Motivation, yes, Christine, that's true. Family issues, yes. Capacity of college tech support. And uncertainty of college plans, definitely, yes. Thanks. Yes, everyone misses that human interaction. Yeah, we had another discussion with Siena College where they talked about community partners feeling stretched too thin. So yeah, I hear that. Okay, I'll stop reading from the chat because you all can see the chat. And here is my last poll questions for us, and then we are going to decide which two questions we really want to dig deeper into, because we only have about 50 minutes. So rather than covering like 5 different topics, we'll go deeper into 1 or 2. So here is my last one. So based on whatever I heard from yesterday's discussions, these are some of the thoughts that came up again and again. One, we talk about most pressing issues right now and how we all are navigating that. We could discuss that in our small groups. Second one, community need, identifying that, and to what extent we can meet that in a virtual environment. Third could be in a small group, we could brainstorm some virtual project ideas. And we could tie in suggestions for the Bonner Foundation, so then we can start developing more resources. If we need to start offering more webinar series like online courses, we'll be happy to do that. And if you don't want to do any of these, if you have other ideas, feel free to share that. Just unmute yourself and talk about it. So far, I see. Okay, I'm still going to wait because people are responding. Liability issues, yes. Okay. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share it with you. So it looks like definitely most of you want to talk about the most immediate and most pressing issues right now, and then how you all are navigating that. So how about this? Should I, once again, give me a thumbs up if it works for you. Should I put you in small groups and we talk about that first topic, most pressing issues, for about 15 minutes, then we come back. And then in the second small group, we talk about some potential virtual projects. And then if we have time, we can have last 5 minutes for open, like the whole group discussion in which we could touch upon some other issues. Does that sound okay? Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, great. So I'll randomly put you in groups, and our first discussion prompt is most pressing issues and how we are navigating that. And here we go. So breakout rooms. Here we go. Hi, Megan, Ashley, and Emily. Oh, Ashley went somewhere else. No worries. Megan, I'll put you in another group so that it's not just two of us.
My house today and it's very hot in here. So I'm wearing shorts. Oh, I hear a dog. And I might mute too because they might need me. So that's but I can introduce myself. My name is Ariana. I am from Middlesex County College in Edison, New Jersey. Yeah.
Hi, Ariana.
Hi.
I'm Chaitanya. I'm from the Bonner Foundation. Sorry, I think I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning. Matt, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm from Widener. I'm going to be a senior, and yeah.
Ariana, are you a student as well?
Me? No, I'm sorry, I should have said that. I'm the coordinator of civic engagement. So I oversee our Bonner program and our service learning program.
Okay, sorry. And which school? I missed it earlier.
Middlesex County College in Edison.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, great. Thank you. Kylie, would you like to go next?
Hi, my name is Kylie. I'm a student at Spelman College, and I'm a rising sophomore.
Okay, thanks. Kristen?
Hey everyone, my name is Kristen Wright. I serve as the Director of Civic Engagement at George Mason University, and we're actually launching our Bonner program for its first year this fall. So really excited to be a part of that team. But I actually was a part of the team that launched the one at College of Charleston like a really long time ago now. I won't necessarily say, so that makes me a little older, but so yeah, so I'm super excited to be bringing it to the camp assignment now.
Great. So, okay, I'll shut up now and I'll let you talk. You are more on the front line, so you know what to do, and I'll be a good listener. Go ahead.
I mean, I can, we're talking about most kind of pressing concerns. I think there's so many. It's hard to figure out where to start. But I put in the chat the uncertainty of where we stand at the college, and I can kind of talk about what we've been doing. We're a commuter school. We're a 2-year college, so we don't have a normal Bonner model, and we recruit every year for new students. And so the biggest struggle we're having is not knowing where the college stands to figure out how we adapt the program. There's talks of a second wave of this. There's talks of potentially coming back on campus. There's talks of a hybrid model. So what we're doing is kind of organizing different versions of the Bonner model. One that will likely be heavy on education and sort of getting the students reflecting and discussing different social issues, our communities, and then prepping them for spring in-person service. But it's hard to do that without direction. That and recruitment, we've kind of had to put a hold on recruitment because I'm apprehensive to present a program to students when I don't really know what it looks like yet. So it's a little anxiety producing, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a good point. Widener, I'm pretty sure is opening. I mean, I can't say for sure, but the governor just said that all the schools open by July 1st. He was in a certain phase, and Delaware County, where the schools are moving to that phase. By end of the weekend, that might go for New Jersey as well, somewhat. I think it's difficult because, so I'm ahead on my hours by a lot, but I think, especially since it's an hour reduction, but I'm nervous about the liabilities of the nonprofits that we're volunteering at and how the Bonner Foundation might lend to that. But I think every state's a little bit different, or every college is a little bit different. So, and I think not even all the service sites might be liable, but I'm a service site leader at the Chester Senior Center, and I think that's more liable than, let's say, maybe a tutoring after school place. So I'm interested to see, do colleges have to get new service sites? Do colleges have to put more volunteers somewhere where there's not necessarily a need, but they got to put them somewhere if they don't feel comfortable putting them at a place where it's maybe more high risk?
Mhm.
And not even for the students to get more sick, but for the students to bring the virus to seniors. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think my college has similar concerns because we work closely with a lot of middle schools and elementary schools, and a lot of the faculty there are older and they've been there for a long time, so they're also part of the vulnerable group. Um, and so we're trying to find ways to continue to work with these schools through Zoom. So what we've been doing is doing like read-alongs to like help keep up with the reading comprehension program that we have. But we're also still trying to look at other ideas because um, we still want to be able to work with the other groups that we have a strong relationship with other than the schools. And so I just kind of wanted to hear ideas from other schools on how they're handling doing virtual engagement with sites that they already have a strong connection with, and maybe sites that they hadn't had previous experience with, but things that I think that I could bring back to my campus.
I would love to talk about all the things you all have mentioned, and I'll just add, just to give you a little context on our experience. We similarly are awaiting some guidance. There was an announcement yesterday that we're going to be opening in a hybrid situation, so we'll have a lot of classes virtually, but there'll be some like high impact courses like labs that are happening online, but that they also will not be filling our residence halls to capacity. So we're in the situation of trying to plan for, we may have some Bonner students who are able to move on campus and some who are not moving on campus. And so what's the best way for us to start to place students and have students, especially it's our first year launching the program, not knowing, and I don't know exactly when we will know which students are on or off. And we're a large university, about 35,000 students, but only 6,000 of those are residential. We have a really high commuting population as well. So just trying to figure out how we navigate the unknown, and we're waiting for the university to tell us what they're going to allow us to have students do. And so how are we communicating with partners so that we can meet some of their needs in the meantime. So I'll just add that, and then happy to talk about all the different pieces you all mentioned.
Do you have some other challenges that you are prioritizing right now? Maybe you could talk about that.
A big one of ours is getting feedback from our partners about what they want, right? Like if they're going to be in a position of accepting students to come into their facilities, if they have virtual work. We've had all of our Bonner partners submit like an updated roles for the fall if it was virtual and an in-person, so that we can still make sure whatever the students are doing meets the needs they have, but also giving them the flexibility, like if that does not work for them, a virtual one, like we can adjust with them too. So that's, I think, been our from the administrative side, like that's been one of our priorities, is just figuring out how we can still meet partner need in a way that works for those organizations and at the capacities and what priorities they have right now. I think someone mentioned in the chat that a lot of our partners are experiencing the uncertainty, right? Especially if they do work that is public health facing. They don't know what their priorities are going to look like in a couple months as we see how the pandemic progresses. So yeah, so that's been our big priority right now.
So in your case, how many partners are in, like, if you look at different issue areas, education, health, food insecurity, what is your major area?
Me specifically, or for everybody?
I mean, I'm asking a general question for everyone, because accordingly, then you can prioritize, right? That, okay, these are the community partners that we need to reach out first.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a question for everyone.
Sorry, say that again. I was doing multiple things at once. What was the question? I missed it.
So Kristen mentioned, right, that major challenge is hearing from community partners.
Right. Yes.
So I was saying that how about Like if you have, let's say if you have 10 or 12 partners, out of those, which are the priority right now? What's the issue area? Education, health,
Mm-mm.
quality, and then accordingly maybe you can decide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
I
just
can,
asking, what do
I
you
can
think?
speak a little bit to that. We're a smaller program, so we have about five or six partners. And it seems like the ones that were kind of able to adapt to remote when we did, and I mean, those who are closer in New Jersey know, or at my school, it was within days that we were told to leave campus. Like we were given an hour to pack up and leave, so there wasn't much preparation time. But it seems like the ones that were able to adapt to become virtual were the ones doing tutoring and working with high school students and elementary school students, and moved to like an online model of that. But I can echo the same. I mean, I've either not really heard from partners because they've just been so overwhelmed, and we, reaching out multiple times, asking for updates, saying where can we help, what is needed, and not getting a response, or those who weren't able to adapt to virtual. I have one in particular where we send most of our students to a local soup kitchen. Their needs have increased. They've been serving double the meals daily, but we're essentially shut down by the county because, not shut down, but they were told that they can only have a handful of volunteers and they couldn't extend that to the community. It was kind of an in-group of volunteers. And that they were talking about that might be the case until summer of next year, because they have so much interaction with the public. So it's hard that the most need is something that we might not be able to support. Another thing we're kind of seeing too is sites that are offering us, like they say, okay, well, I can't have you visit the detention center, but I do need help with delivering packages of foods to families in the local community. Can students do that? And we don't know if contactless service is an option. The college hasn't really made that clear. So it's a little bit of everything. But I think the what I've seen is the youth programs, the tutoring, mentoring have been the ones that sustain for us virtually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has been the pattern in many cases. With mentoring, online mentoring, it's manageable. Any other thoughts? We have 2 more minutes left.
Yeah, sorry, that was long-winded.
No, that's okay. I'll jump on to another group, but you continue your conversation and we'll meet in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I would love to hear from the students of like, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? Especially Widener, you're in PA, right?
Yeah.
Partners, Laura, to organizations like yours, right? Because if I had the flexibility, with skills and things like that, I could probably better serve your organization than using my time to try to figure out how do I create opportunities that might not even be a genuine need in any way. I mean, all the things that my administration is talking to me about, I'm like, that's not a genuine need. That's not what our community partners need. So that's like really my big concern is we're going to go backwards. We're going to go back to these like, how it looks on campus and that we're giving back, but that it won't necessarily at all be what our community partners have come to expect from us.
Yeah, I think we're very concerned about the same thing. A lot of our students, about half of our program, work with children in the area. And a lot of the public schools, we don't know if they're even going to let volunteers in, let alone groups of college kids. And with them, like their capacity, the need that they have is for more volunteers to play with the kids, to do homework with the kids, to tutor, to mentor. And if we're not able to be in person with them, what kind of projects will those students be given, if any, or if they have the capacity, because they'll be working with the children and may not be able to supervise in the same sort of way, and kind of who on our staff would supervise students in that kind of direct thing. Like I'm supposed to be senior teaching in the fall for my certificate for my elementary education degree, and we don't even know if we're even going to be allowed to be placed.
Okay, I guess everyone is back. That's great. Okay, so would you like to first maybe share here and then go to small group for the second question, or do you want to jump to the second question right now? Could you unmute yourself and give me a suggestion? Do
Can you
want?
repeat the second question again?
I was saying, do you want to jump on to the second question right now, which is about brainstorming some new project ideas, online projects? Yes? Okay, so we will do.
Raisa, is it possible we could stay in the same breakout groups? Because we kind of were starting to talk about that, and it'd be great if we could be with the same folks, if it's possible.
Generally, that's what happens during the session. Automatically, it puts you in the same group. So yeah, I don't think I can control that, but I think that's how it works. Okay, so it's 12:30 and we'll meet here 12:45. Okay.
Well, Jaita, you joined us. Amy left.
Oh.
So there we are. We are doing 2 conferences at the same time. So I got a text from her saying, should I go to this other session or should I stay here? And I said, I'll stay here, you go there.
I see.
I don't know why everyone decided to have their conferences on the same day. That's what we're doing. So what are we supposed to be doing? Brainstorming, remote?
Yes, I mean, if you want to continue with the previous conversation, you could feel free to do that. But if you have some other ideas, project ideas, or if you have suggestions for the Bonner Foundation, you could do that. I'll just be a silent participant. I'll be a good listener, and I'll mute myself now.
Well, friends, what do you want to talk about?
I'd be really interested to know because I know you guys continued doing online service once you guys went remote. So what kind of projects were you guys doing? How did that work?
That's a great question. I appreciated your words. Well, so what we decided, I mean, as you said, we're also a Bonner Scholar School. And so they were concerned about, do they still get their checks, right? All the work study money, all the work study students at Maryville continue to be paid, right? And the community-based work study people continue to be paid. And I just said early on, it's a scholarship. It's not a work program. It's a scholarship. You get your money. And so, what we did was we offered them every week, we would say, here are 3 suggestions that we would love for you to do. We felt like our partners were so stressed, they didn't, and doing online tutoring for kids seemed too complicated because there wasn't anything set up and liability issues and all this stuff. So we just kind of gave them suggestions like, research how the COVID crisis is impacting the population you were serving in your site, and share that with us in this meeting. Or try watching this set of videos and blah, blah, blah. And they did the congressional hunger thing. It was really kind of pulled out of our pants. It was just kind of made up. I mean, some of it was good. I'm not sure there was any true, what we call remote service. Like, was anyone designing a website or doing a publicity campaign? Everything was, some people said, I can make masks. I have a sewing machine. Can I make masks? And we said, sure, do that. I don't know. What did y'all do?
Yeah, so our we had a couple options. First, anybody who was at a site where their partners were like, you can go ahead with remote service. We had around 5 to 10 Bonners who were able to just transition to remote work and were fine. Or if they didn't want to continue working for the Bonner program, student employment was able to actually replace them into different jobs around campus. Since our campus stayed open and functioning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then the rest of the students that wanted to continue working, we gave them different like in-reach projects. So we had one group working on alumni engagement,
which is doing more intensive skill development of students. So like we often dream about how we want to better prepare students to work in communities so that community partners have a more kind of skilled and knowledgeable. So that's something that we've been talking about too, is how to beef up not just the Bonner curriculum, but also the curriculum for all first-year students. So that, you know, come spring semester, ideally we have students with a higher skill set.
Like a food bank, or is it one of the more local type pantries?
It's a local pantry. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's even an old house that the city of Berea bought and like renovated so that there's shelves and things like that. So it's like it's pretty small.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking back to like what our school has done for food drives, and I'm partnered at the United Way for my Bonner partner, and one of our partners is the Virginia Food Bank. So something that we did a couple years ago to support those smaller pantries was to offer like match donations. So we found like one of the big like big grocery store lines in the area. I think it was Food Lion or something. But it was like a grocery store. We reached out to them. We were like, we're really struggling, like finding or getting a lot of support this year from our community to get donations. And then we just reached out and we're like, if we can, you know, get this amount of just monetary donations, would you be willing to match that amount in either like money or pound per pound food? And they were super on board with that because that's also a way to advertise for them. Like a pretty cheap way to advertise in the grand scheme of things. So that might be something you could look into. I don't have a ton of suggestions for that, though. I think that's the only thing that came to head.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely talk to my team about that.
Hard because I wonder like, oh hello. I wonder like if, I mean like Kristen, do you foresee it maybe being possible to meet in person and do some of the same kind of, have some of the same kind of conversations and split up groups, or is that probably not?
Who knows? I think if we are to be in person, we can't have more than 10 people. So it would mean for every class, we would need 3 separate meetings.
Yeah, I mean, we only have like 7 people in each year.
So,
yeah, we have about 20 in each too.
Yeah, so that I'm not sure how to navigate. And I do feel like there's, and to the point people made, there hasn't been a lot of time or space to think about this yet. And so I do have this idea in my head that like, this could be a chance to kind of throw everything up in the air and come up with some new things that maybe get us out of routine in a positive way. Like, okay, if I can't do what I've always done, you know, maybe there will be things that we come up with that will actually continue into future years. But I don't know. We also, we've never had evening classes before. So we've always had a set time for our meetings. And even though activities, sometimes we had to work around them, we were kind of over dinner time and we ate together. So it worked out okay, but we're talking about possibly adding evening classes because we'll need more classes since fewer people can be in them. And so then that makes me think, well, we might not be able to get the whole group together at the same time anyway, so.
That worked for us at some point, like we had a group of freshmen who could not meet a regular schedule, so our coordinator will meet with them in a convenient place on campus, and the attendance was good. So that, I mean, if we come back in person, meeting at different times could definitely be an alternative. Breaking the groups.
Yeah, I do think that time, like I think somebody mentioned earlier, to just like chat, and that often turns into grieving, kind of grieving in big ways, but also grieving just like the minor losses of like what college is, and especially what Bonner work normally is. I mean, I wasn't even at school last semester. Actually, I was studying abroad in Morocco, so that was its own thing. But part of the parts of Bonner that I still was part of, like following my evacuation, was kind of just these informal Zoom calls to just talk, and that was nice actually. And I feel like people could kind of relax into it, but I think it's tough. Those are tough with a big group. So I think that's something to consider, but I think I would foresee that being really important, especially for like,
I could bring it from New York, to Pennsylvania. So do you have a service site where maybe people are from one state or one specific region? Maybe it's more controlled that way. I know every service site can't be like that because it's just not realistic. But I mean, I'm just curious because they haven't really given us any leeway, but I think it's depending on the president to decide, and I guess the governor to decide, but they don't have a backup plan. Like they say, the president says, okay, we have these cleaning, we'll do the social distancing, but I'm kind of more looking for, okay, what exactly are those things? So there's a plan in place, but I'm looking for a little more detail. No matter like really what happens with the governor, I'm looking to see more, okay, like how are you going to do that kind of thing?
Yeah.
For my school, we haven't necessarily talked really about in person. We're pretty sure we plan on just continuing it virtually. But I think any hours that we would do outside of virtually would still count for us. I'm not sure about any liability things, but they basically told us like that we were encouraged to do virtual learning, but if we felt the need to, then we could do in person, like touchless service. So I think the food bank was still open a little bit. Some people worked there, but it wasn't like, it was more of independently from the organization. But it's still counted for us, but it's mostly encouraged that we do virtual, especially because of
only 16 of which are active. So it's very low. And so I'm going to encourage our coordinator to do in-person visits and just have conversations, not with all of our partners, but with the ones where we have multiple students serving.
We've been actually having a very in-depth conversation about partnership and what that entails. We have some existing partners who we've had for several years. I've been with the college for 5 years, and these partners have been in place well before that. And we're taking an in-depth look, and this is across the board with all of our programs, with our next program and with the AmeriCorps Vista program, to see what we want out of partnership and to see like exactly what not like, I don't want to say the reward, but the end goal would be. Is it just where we're assigning Bonners to a specific site for that, inexpensive labor, so to speak, or is it a case where they actually are engaging and they're actually learning and they're actually developing, certain skills? So we've actually had, our Zoom meetings, because we're all working remotely, but we have our Zoom meetings, and we're trying to bring different ideas of how to, engage our students with our partners, but also have a stake in it, at the end. Not so much, okay, well, you've always worked with us in the past, so yes, we're gonna place some, Bonner students there. Not the case where we don't appreciate that partner, but we just want to see, is that a site where that could be engaging, as the student grows, will they be able to do a capstone, with that site and with that partner helping them, with that. So these are all questions. We don't have anything ironed out as of yet, but we're still working on it. And that's actually been something that we've been discussing over the past month or so.
Yeah, I think that's a whole extra level of challenge thinking about the capstone, because our program, we have it, they start their sophomore year and they're planning and meeting with their site supervisor and a faculty member and one of our staff members to start planning what they want to do. And I think losing that capacity at a lot of those sites as they move into their could be a big challenge I haven't thought of yet. So
yeah,
it's a good point.
Hey, how was your discussion? Was it helpful?
Really helpful as a community partner. Got some really good ideas and made some new connections to follow up with for ideas.
So, Laura, could you tell me a little bit about what your organization does, where you are located?
Sure. So I'm in Madison County, right outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I work for a nonprofit called Community Housing Coalition, and we are an affordable housing and free home repairs program for just our county residents who particularly vulnerable populations and marginalized populations here in Appalachia. And I'm the volunteer coordinator for us.
Okay. So what are some challenges for you?
Some challenges for us have been the not knowing what's happening this fall, not only with our Bonner Scholars, but also with our staff. We've reduced some of our staff temporarily during this time, as well as had some significant staff reductions in order to support our staff with unemployment and so on. So just not knowing whether we'll have the staff capacity to support Bonner Scholars work here. And our Bonner Scholar partnerships are amazing in supporting the work that we do. So it's hard to not think about reaching our full capacity with that. And definitely coming up with virtual ideas. It's not something that a lot of our staff are used to. And some of them, would much rather prefer in person, which I definitely understand. But a lot of our work does happen in person, and that's a big challenge.
Okay. So are you doing some group projects with them, with students?
So we have one summer placement Bonner Scholar right now who is working on site with us with social distancing, and then our other Bonner Scholars, our partnering institution is kind of a suitcase institution, and so a lot of our Bonner Scholars are back home right now for the summer and not here locally. So, and we honestly haven't even bridged the topic with them of virtual projects. I think that they've all sought individual service projects at home, trying to contribute to their communities. But we'll be having conversations soon about what the potential online projects could be for this fall, just in case.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So it's 12:49. We have about 11 minutes. I wanted to know, do you want another small group discussion, discussing like some suggestions for the foundation team, what we could do, or do you want to continue here in this whole group discussion? So give me a thumbs up if you want whole group discussion on your screen. Thumbs up? Okay, all right, then we will continue here. So could you share some of the ideas that you discussed in your groups, because others may not have heard them? And feel free to unmute yourself and talk. Anne.
I'm Anne McKee from Maryville College. We did not discuss about the foundation, so this is all me. I think the staff Zoom meetings have been helpful. I think that's been helpful. I've sort of missed having the written weekly update. And I also sort of miss at this SLI meeting, there's normally at SLI, there's a sort of Bonner policy business meeting where we kind of get a clear sense of what the expectations are for the year, what the direction of the foundation is going. And I realize this is just a really different kind of SLI, but it will be, I think the Zoom meetings they're helpful, but they seem to be where you all are disseminating information.
Right.
But we can't always do that. Like we may be on vacation or we may not be able to do that. So I would really like a return to written documents as well. I know that's work on the foundation, but I would love to I miss that Bonner Weekly News where I can sort of quickly read and see what I need to know and help point that in the right direction.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm making note of that. And just to let you all know, if you go on Bonner main website or on Bonner Wiki, actually, let me share my screen. That may help. So are you able to see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I completely agree with you about the update. I'll pass that message on. But there is one small development here at the foundation. So if you go on the main page, you will see the statement about the current event, in response to the current event.
Right.
And then the foundation has been talking, Bobby has been talking with the board members, and they have come up with a new community fund called Racial Justice Community Fund. And we will be inviting new projects and funding those projects. I don't have all the details on that right now, but I would suggest that you read this part and then follow up with Bobby. I hope that's helpful. And then, sorry?
Oh, no, you go ahead and I'll ask a question.
Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, and the other question we have, which I can ask in another place, but is whether the Bonner Community Engaged Learning grants were so important to our campus this year. We were able to do things that we just could not have done before. It was perfect. Do you think those will be do you think there will be another opportunity to apply for those, or is the Racial Justice Fund sort of taking the place of that?
So again, we still need to have one more meeting about that. Then I'll have a better update for you.
Okay.
But we revisited that idea in our previous meeting about continuing with CEL grants, but we were waiting for the endowment return and all that calculations.
Mm-hmm.
So Bobby was going to do the calculations and then figure out if we have enough funds to fund this project or continue funding this project. So
okay,
I'll
great.
follow up with Bobby and we'll get back to you.
Great. Thanks. Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
Any other ideas that you discussed or any other questions that you have? We have 6 more minutes. I heard some good ideas. I think one was about doing in-person visits with some community partners with whom you will really have long-term relationships and you are thinking of long-term projects. Then one group was talking about having student meetings, but rather than having all group students meetings on Zoom, maybe breaking it out like first years and sophomores. Do you want to expand on that, or do you have any other thoughts? I think Claudio, you were talking about it, right? About having freshman students meeting separately.
We're
We're
trying to social distance.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on spot, but if you have other ideas, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we were talking about like how one of our coordinators met with a group of freshmen on a different part of campus because they didn't know how to navigate the campus. So they met on the main campus on College Ave at night in a place that everybody knew, and that really facilitated them coming together. Like we had an excellent attendance. So to be mindful of those things, like what can work.
So if you're meeting in person, then smaller groups, like less than 10 students, is something that's manageable. Is that what it is?
Yeah. And I think something else that we talked about that I just want to share with the group too is this idea of having realistic expectations and to allowing students and ourselves space to grieve and to not, and I'm speaking from someone from New Jersey where we've been the hardest hit, us in New York are the epicenter of this. And so, it's not normal, like what we're going through is not normal. It's not normal times, but yet sometimes I feel like, the expectations are still the same. And I'm not talking about Bonner, I'm talking about in general. And what I had said to my students is that I know that your parents are losing their jobs, your internships are going away, your grandparents are dying, and I don't expect the same things. So when I came into this, I was thinking oh, this is, we're gonna make lemonade out of lemons, but we need to just realize that these are lemons, and it's okay that we are not performing the way we normally do, because if we did, there'd be something wrong with us. So, and I think that and that was before the social unrest. So I think that so you're asking what the foundation, I think the foundation being kind of sensitive to that context and the technology challenges and all that other stuff, funding challenges, all of that wrapped into one, and that we just need to think about what can we do given all of that. Right. And not what we would like to do, but what is actually possible given that context. And so that's kind of what we talked, and giving ourselves a break, realizing that. So that's kind of what we had talked about in our group too. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because I think a lot of people, I told my students, I don't want to be a source of additional stress for you. You're under enough stress. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we talked about. And then when you start from that place, then I think a lot more is actually possible than students just feeling more and more pressure or or expecting so much for themselves because they in their mind want to do it, but the reality is they can't because they're sad.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the changes that many of you already made, right, for the spring semester. In terms of the stress, in terms of expectation, that because students are under stress, everyone else is under stress, that let's not put too much pressure on completing hours or completing projects. So going forward, are you thinking on the same lines for fall, that making it more feasible and practical?
Yeah. I mean, for us, that's the reality. So it's we don't want to add more. We want to be a source of strength, not stress. So and part of that is just recognizing that these are not normal times and you're not going to do what you normally can do.
Yeah.
You know, so, and starting from that place. I think if you don't start from that place, then you don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
One of the things that, like, I think is a really tangible response to that in terms of the foundation is that because we can't deliver things in person, because most of our groups are too big to do that, can the foundation maybe take on some of the work of building out modules that we could all use, like orientation, right? I know that's something that we're probably all thinking about. How are we going to deliver all this content? For some people, this is their first year in the program. They've missed, the family feel. They're not going to drink the Bonner Kool-Aid because they're not going to be in person to drink the Bonner Kool-Aid. So things that, things like the common commitments, things that we're all doing, I feel like for us, it would feel like a lot of pressure was taken off if some of that could be, things that your interns worked on over the summer, videos, different things like that, trainings, workshops.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just one of the things that I was thinking of. Our staff is going to have gone from 5 to 2 because of the economy and the cuts and the freezes. And we don't even know how to think about converting what we do into what will happen. And I know that's a really tangible thing that would make a huge helpful impact for us.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, this was on our to-do list, but now it will become a priority. And I am being mindful of the fact that it is already 1:01. But thank you, everyone, for your suggestions. I noted them down, and we will definitely work on that. So wishing you all the best and have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.